Welcome back to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lelly. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode. And if you are new to the Just As We Are podcast, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. You get to hear so many amazing, beautiful stories from the most beautiful women that I have come across. And I am grateful that I have this platform to do that with you guys. Today, I got to talk to Lauren Glick. Lauren is a retired city firefighter and now dedicates her life to empowering women through movement and accountability. She's a Tony Robbins Life Coach, Pilates and Equinox personal trainer, turned all online fitness community for like-minded women heading against the social norms of the diet pill, stressful workout classes, and body shaming. She says, girl, let's get you moving and loving it. And I love that so much because I know many of us out there, ladies, we are so hard on ourselves. We are comparing ourselves online to the women who have been doing this fitness thing for years and years, and we forget where we're starting from, and it's possible to love it. We talked about how Lauren became a firefighter. She had a passion for it. She wanted to do it, and what it was like for her to step into that space, because at that time, it was still uncommon for women to be firefighters. And how well she was received by the men, and getting through those days that were hard where she felt like, what am I doing here? Is this actually what I want to be doing? And we talk about working in that man's world, but I love that she focuses on so much, that she gets to do hard things. She said this over and over again in the interview, and it's so important that we understand that and we get to do these things. She talks about being diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, among other things, and how that brought her to a space of needing to leave the firefighter life and transfer into something more empowering for women. So she kind of became a coach by accident through her own experience. We talk about mindset and just empowering women and having that community of like-minded women. You guys are going to love today's episode. I am excited for this one for you guys. Make sure you're got a pen and paper because you're going to love all the things. Hey there, girlfriend. Real quick, I wanted to let you know about something super special that I created just for you during this holiday season. My 8 tips on how to have a stress-free, happy, joyous, and sane holiday season. We know this time of year brings so much pressure, stress, maybe some drama, and overwhelm, tears, usually, and, it's 2020, so we know it's probably going to be amped up. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's why I've created this guide just for you. 8 super simple tips on remaining that stress-free, happy, joyous, and sane through the holiday season, packed with so much good info plus affirmations. Head on over to katrinalelly.co/holiday guide. Or you can head on over to my Instagram bio, hit the link in my bio, and it'll get you right there as well. katrinalelly.co/holiday guide. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome to the Just As We Are podcast. I'm Katrina Lelly, a wife, mom in recovery, certified life and transformation strategist, community cultivator, lover of people, and student of life. Each week, I'll bring you love, inspiration, share the harder things people are afraid to talk about, and guests who are willing to shine their light for you. I give you self-care practices and mindset tips to help you shatter the negative stories you tell yourself. Now is the time to step into the beautiful, loved, whole woman you already are. Let's walk this journey together. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me on the Just As We Are podcast. I'm excited that you're here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to it, girl, and getting our talk on today.
Heck yeah. Your story, I know, is so incredible. You're just an amazing person already. But I know, and we haven't known each other for very long, I love that we get to be in the space where we just meet people from all walks of life who are here doing their very best and, empowering the other women, sharing our stories. It's just so much fun to get to know people in that way.
No, I completely understand. As I'm not supposed to say, and I'm saying it, I'm a new entrepreneur, but recently in the space and getting to know so many women, especially being in Fast Foundations and meeting other entrepreneurs like you has been so empowering for myself and helping me grow my community online too. So thank you for having me today. And I'm just excited to share my story.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so welcome. Which you just made me think about, when do we not become a new entrepreneur? When is that time?
That's actually true. Yeah, that's actually true, right? Because we're always reaching and growing for the next big step. And it's interesting because you have so many people in this space, and you're right. It's like, when am I not? It's interesting because I'm comparing it, because I was just talking to one of my coaches, and um, she was giving me some insight of being new and just really loving the space you're in and generating a community for like-minded women with movement. And I compared it to my past career as a firefighter. It's not like you just come in and own your space, right? You have to go in and you have to really prove yourself and who you are and what you do. And you just do that through creating value, and empowering women is my jam, and I love doing it. It's helped me not only online, it's helped me really not only in the United States. I'm like actually helping women like in Canada and Barcelona, and I'm like, this is kind of crazy, but it's also so empowering that we have a platform that we could do that on.
Yeah, your reach definitely expands so much. And it is, when you have a regular job, which there's nothing wrong with a regular job. Some people are made for that. Some people are not. Yeah. It took me about 10 years to figure out I'm not, which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's talk more about your 10 years of service. You're a retired city firefighter, and you're dedicating your life to empowering women. Let's go back though and tell me, how did you get into firefighting? Was it like what you always dreamed of growing up, or where did that come from?
That's interesting, because I remember in high school, I used to tell my best friend all the time. I used to tell her, Jessica, I am going to be a firefighter when I grow up. And she would always laugh at me. Not in a sense of like, you can't do it, but like, well, maybe it was, because she was like, why in the hell can't you do it? And it was interesting because it was before the time that firefighters for females, it was very uncommon, even in 2002, because I graduated high school in 2002. So when I started my career in the fire service, I definitely was one of few females. I worked for a city in Central California. We used to go out on huge strike teams, which were wildland fires. And I was definitely one of, there would be thousands of men online and these wildland fires, and I would see maybe 1-2 women out of 8,000-9,000 men on these huge campaign fires. The last season I was in the fire service was 2 summers ago, and it was a complete change. I can't even explain it other than a word other than gnarly, about how many women I saw on these huge campaign fires in the summertime. There were women everywhere. And to me, that was an amazing feeling to know that women are gaining the confidence and being able to do jobs that we are quote unquote not supposed to be doing for some reason. And that was, I don't want to say I became a firefighter, because there were so many challenges on becoming a firewoman, but I always knew that I want to help women, especially empower them in spaces that were very uncommon. And long story short, I retired about 2 years ago because of physical elements, and I really absolutely love helping women when you're down and out and like the last straw of movement. Because, another long story short, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, ulcerative colitis, and something called ankylospondylitis, which is arthritis from my back. And I love helping women get off or get out of that space where they think they have no options of moving, and really taking them, especially in a huge community of like-minded women in the same area, and empowering them to just take their life back, basically.
I love that so much. I'm curious, how well were you received as a woman coming into the firefighting space? Because, like you said, that was not common. And
No,
it
it
really
wasn't.
wasn't that long ago that it wasn't
Mhm.
so common.
And it's pretty crazy to think about, Um, gosh, I can't even remember what year it was, like 2008, because I was in forestry. I was in the United States Forest Service before I was in city fire. And I remember because I went out to northern Arizona to have my first fire season. I was the only woman, I drove up from Southern California in a new truck into a very rural space in northern Arizona to something called the Hot Shot Crew. And I was one of 20 or 30 men that were on this crew. And it was an elite fire crew, meaning that we were flown into as the first men and women on huge fires in fire season. Those men were kind of confused why I was there, to say the least. I remember there was a 2-week academy before we were like graduated to actually being in this crew, because we had to learn how to grow as a crew and work together. After the 2 weeks were up, because I pretty much stayed to myself the first 2 weeks, because as a woman, you definitely have to keep your head down, work extremely hard, and own your shit, because there's no easier way to say it, is that we are definitely my experience in the fire service was, I am a woman and I'm weaker than all of you men. Not because of my personal state of mind, but that's how they looked upon women in the fire service. You definitely you meet one male, you have to really prove your worth. And every single time you would meet another male, he would do the same thing of like, oh, she's a woman. Can she really own her shit? So yeah, that did get a little tiring, but it was like, once you have the confidence and own it, and you're like, F you, and you do your thing, it's like they finally decide to, let you in, and they're like, okay, she's cool. And it was an interesting inauguration time of, maybe I just said that because it was election time, but but of being on such a small crew, you were definitely, especially in northern Arizona, you're accepted a little bit easier. And I remember the first night going out with the guys, I remember one of the oldest guys on the crew, his name was, oh God, I'm going to forget his name. Shoot, I forget his name. Spurlock. The weird is, like, in northern Arizona, they were all like loggers. And I remember him sitting down with me. We're out for a beer after the first couple of weeks. And he looks at me and he goes, so why are you really out here? And I'm like, what do you mean, Spurlock? And he's like, what do you do? You're a really pretty woman from LA. Like, what are you doing in northern Arizona with all these dirty men, and you want to just like be on a fire crew? And I'm like, I want to be a firefighter. And he kind of just looked at me and he was like, okay. And then from there on, he accepted me. But it was like, it's just like an interesting dynamic, because men don't really expect, even today, they don't expect women to want to do hard jobs. And I just grew up very active, and I knew I needed a job that let me be very active and help people.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so brave of you to step into that space, and to be a part of that, because you don't know how you're going to be received. And I'm sure there were probably some days you went home and you were like, why am I even here? Why am I
Oh,
even
yeah.
doing this? How did you get through those days?
Honestly, that's the thing, especially with the fire service and being a female, you kind of have to mold yourself into, I had to mold myself into a different person, because I grew up very bubbly, very girly. I was always like very happy about things. And as a firefighter, that comes off as you don't have confidence, and you don't have the Like there's like a different level, right? Like you have to hold yourself and like own your shit. I guess that's the quote of this podcast is, I guess it doesn't come off as professional, I guess you want to say, in the fire service. You really have to be able to prove yourself before you're able to have fun with the guys and like joke around, especially as a woman. And those nights that it didn't happen, or I would do something not acceptable, or it was never physical, like physical requirements as a firefighter. Hands down, I was completely fine with. Mentally, it was, if I'm allowed to say the F word on here, I'm going to censor myself. It was a mind clusterfuck. Oh, I just said it. Please out if you have to, Katrina. Yeah. But yeah, it was a mental game 100%. And if you were like, imagine yourself as a woman, right? Being in this physical world of manual labor, and you're having a hard day and you start crying in front of 30 or 40 men, like it doesn't come across perceived well, right? They're like, oh, she can't handle this job. And it was like, no, F you, man, I can, but you're being an asshole. So I think mentally it was very challenging, but I am one to never give up. So I loved my job as a firefighter. I thought I was going to be one for the rest of my life until I physically couldn't anymore from rheumatoid arthritis. So
yeah. And before we dive into that, you said something so interesting. And, you talked about it's the mind. It's really the mindset. How true is that really for everything we do? Oh God, I mean, there is physical aspects to jobs out there. Yeah. But it's really it's got to start in the mind.
100%. And I really want to say it really stems down to like confidence, right? And being aware of how you're acting. I think awareness in your emotions is 100% where we get to start with our mindset, because if you're aware of how you're acting, then that's where the confidence stems from. And that's where your mindset really changes. If we grew up in maybe a negative kind of atmosphere where you think about things pretty negatively, like right off the bat, that awareness phase in yourself really is something that we get to hone in on and understand, right? Because our mindset is 100%, especially with movement and women, which now I'm, working in. It's not actually, well, it is, right? But like, imagine going on a long run, and I'm saying a long run cross country, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 miles. Yes, you can feel burning in your legs, but literally what is making you stop or go is how you think about that burning in your legs, right? You're not like, you're either like, okay, that's burning in my legs, but girl, I am getting stronger and I'm going to keep going. Mm-hmm. Or you say to yourself, oh shit, my legs are burning. I just want to walk for a second. And that is the spiral down, right? And we all have good and bad days, right? I have those days where I'm like, I'm just going to walk, right? But then most of the days I know that burning, if it's just in your muscles, right, that I'm going to keep going because I get to do hard things. And I feel like we really do grow in those extremely hard points in our life. So I think running is a good analogy, maybe because I'm a cross-country runner, but everything's mental, right?
Yeah, it's a really good analogy. You made me think a few years ago when I was running and I was doing some, what are they called? Not marathons. I was not that good yet, but some of those longer runs. And it was always mental because one day I could go out and run my 5 miles. The next day I couldn't, and I was in a crappy mood. And it was like, yep, it's mental. It was the same path, but it was totally mental. And so I love that's a great analogy for anybody out there. I love it. So awesome. At what point did you get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis? Mm-hmm. At what point did you know, like, okay, my firefighting days are over, and how did that come across for you and you transition into what you're doing now?
It was extremely hard for me, honestly, especially when you think that you're in a career that you're going to retire out on. There was no reason for me not to. That's an interesting question, because it's like, it's all mental, right? Like I could dwell in the past and think to myself, I'm not a firefighter anymore, but in actuality, I always will be, because my mindset and what fire has changed me into is being an extremely strong, empowering woman. I will always be a firefighter, but now I'm just a retired firefighter. So it's literally how I changed my mindset on how to move forward in life. And after, being, I like to say I was flatlined. That's another fire term of when you go on codes, like your rhythm of your heart rate. So flatlined, I was flatlined in bed. And I couldn't get out of bed because my joints were so swollen and so hot to the touch that it took me about 3 or 4 hours. This is another mental thing, right? To get out of bed. I had the choice to either lie in bed and understand, well, shit, I can't get up because I am in so much pain. But I also knew that this was my life, and the only way to move forward was start to move again. And it was a slow progression of how I got rheumatoid arthritis. I first got ulcerative colitis. I couldn't hold anything in my system for a couple months. And then that itis turned into my joints, and I slowly kind of deteriorated over a couple months. And when I was in bed, yeah, there were some days that I was crying and I was like, well, okay, now what do I do? Because I couldn't move my body. I was just like somebody lying there with all this cluster in my brain, until I decided, you know what, that's it. I'm going to get up. I'm going to move. It's going to hurt like hell, but it's going to hurt like hell if I lie here all day long too. So I chose to get up, and nothing in life is easy, right? I'm going to do a drop here of knowledge, but I absolutely love the book Untamed, and Glennon Doyle has an insanely awesome quote saying that we can do hard things. And that's all that life is one hard thing that we get through to go to the next hard thing. And we get to do these hard things. Life is not meant to be easy. Everyone thinks that it's all rainbows and butterflies all the time. But I really come from a point of finally understanding that we have all these emotions, right? And yes, we have happy times, but also we have these times that aren't the greatest, but we get to have those feelings of sadness, and we get to have those feelings, and we get to move past those feelings. So that's what was happening with me when I had my first outbreak of arthritis. Is shit, I could get through this too. And, a year later, I'm going to physical therapy 4 times a week and really going through the movements and getting all of my movement back. So it's all mindset, right? Itis is just inflammation in your body. And if I would have laid there and let that itis, all that negativity in my body kept manifesting, I probably would have turned into some cancer. At least that's my thoughts. Like, call me a little woo-woo, Katrina, but that's definitely my thoughts.
I'm loving it. And I'm laughing because my husband says, you say woo-woo on the podcast, and I giggle every time. He's like, it's not my favorite word, but Lauren's right there with me. We're besties.
I know. I love it. I know. It's the only way to describe the female energy, as people have the male and the female energy. It's that energy that we get to do things and we get to manifest our life. And at that moment, I was like, okay, girl, it's on. You are going to move. You are going to get through this. And what is the next step, and how am I going to get there?
Oh my gosh. Heck yeah. It's all, like we talked about earlier, it's that mindset. It's that thinking, the way we think about things. If you want to continue to say, oh, my body is hurting. I mean, granted, it is hurting, but my body is hurting. Oh, this sucks. I don't want to be here. And I just am stuck here. Then that's what you're going to do. You're going to stay stuck there. So you have to totally switch that mindset around. And you got to have the people around you who are doing that to kind of get you aware of what's going on and to move into that space.
100%. So when I knew that, I was like, okay, my body wants to, it's deteriorated. I need somebody to help me move my back. So my back was like a rusted pole, as my physical therapist likes to say, because AS is the fusing of your vertebrae. And the only way to change that, because you can, is the movement, right? because when you move joints, they start to actually have a little bit more movement in them. And that's why like getting women off, and I like to say off the couch and up and moving, is because I have such a passion for it, because that's what my story was as well. And you're right. It's a community that really did help me get moving. Because just because I had arthritis doesn't mean that, one day I decided to get up and go to physical therapy and all of a sudden I was better. I've had my ups and downs in physical therapy as well. I had a really bad, the arthritis didn't want to really release out of my left knee. So getting back to running was just not a thing. And it's been a long 6 months, and it's been 6 months of physical therapy 4 times a week. And guess what? All it is doing the same thing over and over and holding yourself accountable and being consistent with that. And it's the same thing for everything in life, right? Especially as entrepreneurs, we say consistency and accountability a lot. And it's the same thing with my community online. It's a lot of accountability and a lot of holding each other accountable for what we're doing. And what you really think is important in your life are those things that you're holding yourself accountable for.
Yeah, absolutely. So share with us more about what you're doing now that you've transitioned, and the community that you're building and your coaching and what you're doing for women.
Well, that's a long story too. Apparently I like to talk a lot, Katrina. Right now I'm empowering women to gain confidence through movement and enjoying that process with a like-minded community. So right now I do have movement classes, right? I'm not going to say don't. I help women move a couple times a week. And then we have Sunday morning calls where we talk about fitness, movement, nourishment, how we're changing. And I like saying changing, but it's actually evolving into a healthier human. My catchphrase is couch to confidence, because I truly do believe when women get their confidence, that is exactly what they need to actually get moving. I was a personal trainer, so there was a little brief in between when I did have like my arthritis, when I was a personal trainer for a couple months at a pretty high-end gym in Southern California. And my job as a personal trainer, I felt like, yes, I do help women move, and I am helping them get into a proper squat form and teaching them how to lunge and teaching them how to overhead press. But really what my job was as a female fitness personal trainer was to help women understand that they could do this themselves. And the only reason why they had a personal trainer is because I saw it in every single one of my clients. They didn't have the confidence to go in there and own their shit in a gym, especially with most gyms are all men. So my job was to talk myself out of a job as a personal trainer. And I truly do see that as the same thing as growing a community online. Is I empower women to move, to feel good, to nourish their bodies well, and to really enjoy this community. We call them the babes right now, of women online, to help each other hold each other accountable for movement, for eating well, and nourishing their bodies. And it's awesome. We're brand new, but it's definitely gaining a lot of traction pretty fast. So
that's so cool. I love it too, because, women are always looking for buddies anyway. We're always looking for that community, and you're creating that beautiful space for them. Yeah. And I am loving your mission, because we think we have to have, I know for me, like I've got to have somebody I know or somebody to be accountable to show up at the gym to get my butt off. And, what a great time, even now, with all that's going on in the world, to have this online community to where people can go in and cheer each other on. They have support from a professional who knows what she's doing. And, I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because there are so many ways that women, well, in my past, I, was a part of the 90s where there's like fad diets and all these crazy fitness classes and pushing their bodies to more stress. So we're the diets, the anti-crazy fitness classes, and just getting out and moving in nature, enjoying mobility classes, enjoying the movement, really feeling good in our hips and our backs again. Because, when you grow older, your hips and your back start to feel it a little bit more.
Yes,
So we do have, we do have mobility classes and gaining strength with resistance bands, especially at home. It's very minimal equipment because it's a crazy time to be online as a quote unquote fitness professional, which is why I don't really like that title. I love the title of just growing a community of like-minded women with movement and nourishment within their bodies. And because all these fitness classes, all it's doing is really stressing your body out. And you're moving through all these forms and you don't know what you're doing. And well, some people don't, right? And moving in the improper form is stressing your body out even more, and trying to keep up with all these women that, are fitness professionals on Instagram. Like, women are looking at those people thinking that's what they need to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm more of the body positivity of being like, girl, like, we're all different. We could do the same thing, eat the same thing, and we're all going to still look different. So, trying to rail that all back in is a huge task. And that's why I love the community that we're building.
That's beautiful. It's so much needed during this time. And I know you're just going to make a massive impact on so many women.
Yay.
I want to shift a little bit and talk, because this episode will come out at the end of the year here in December. Yeah. So, what are you grateful to be leaving behind in 2020? What are you taking with you? And what do you see coming into 2021?
What was that first one, Katrina?
What are you grateful to be leaving behind in 2020?
Uncertainty.
There's always uncertainty, though.
There is, but there can be uncertainty, but not letting that take over your life, right?
Yes.
Because I've been through a huge transformation of like, holy moly, what in the hell am I doing now? I'm a fitness professional, but owning that, because I have so much background in movement and movement theory and mobility. I mean, I started, club soccer at the age in 5th grade. Like, there has been it's just crazy to know how much knowledge I just have from personal experience. And all the classes that I have taken that I could help women with, and having that confidence behind me. All it is confidence and knowing that I can help all these women, especially my past career as a firefighter. It has so much impact on women and how they hold themselves and how they can move forward. So I'm leaving back uncertainty, knowing I am in the right space and moving forward, right? What was that next question?
What are you taking with you from 2020?
Focus.
So good.
Because I have my mission and I know what my purpose is in life. Because there is a difference between, what was it, Katrina? There's a difference between purpose and
passion,
right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw this one in here, but I have a passion in life for oil painting and pottery, right? So that's a little woo-woo of me and how I get all the energies and all the positivity in my life. So I feel like that's a passion in life, but my purpose is definitely 1000% to empower women. And I feel like the reason why I was a firefighter is to help drive that purpose to like this huge train. And I feel like I went through arthritis and not being able to move because of the purpose of empowering women. You have all this life experience and really helping the younger generation before they have to go through it.
Yeah.
It's definitely my purpose. And I'm full steam ahead in 2021.
So good. And what are you excited about in 2021?
The community that I'm building. I've only been doing this for a couple months. So the traction that I'm already gaining is pretty exciting to me. And I'm really excited to see where everything goes and what the next step is. And just being grounded and knowing that this is truly the purpose in life and we're all on this together.
I love it so much. Oh my gosh. I just adore you, and I'm so grateful that we're in this together and that our paths have crossed.
Me too.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram, I'm at the Lauren Glick, and that's kind of my spot that I hang out. If you're on Facebook, I'm at laurenglick.fitness. So my last name is Glick on both of those. I do have a website at badassbods.com as well.
Heck yeah, I love it. So cool. Are there any last words you want to share with everybody before we go?
If you're in a hard spot right now, just know that you get to have these feelings and you get to do hard things and just keep moving forward. There's no reason to stop because we're all in this together.
Yes. Oh, so good. Get to. Absolutely. Yes. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your heart with the audience. I am so grateful. You guys, I know you love this episode, so you know what to do. Make sure you share it. Make sure you go leave us a 5-star review. And I will link up all of the things in the show notes for you to go find Lauren. Make sure you go give her a follow.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. Just as we are, fam, I so appreciate my listeners. And you know what would be so incredibly awesome? Is if you just took a few moments, headed on over to iTunes and left me a 5-star review of the show. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your communities. Tag me at Katrina Lelly. My message, my mission doesn't get out there without your help. Until next time.